Hey guys, this is Joe East again here. We're going to talk today about the most important subject that I've ever done for personal success. It is sex polarity. And no, we're not going to get kinky or dirty here for those of you who are wondering. This will be still rated PG. So don't worry about us saying any weird stuff where you'd want to keep the kids away from or anything like that. And we're not going to get into those subjects. But we will be talking about sex polarity, which is the foundation of the universe. That's a big claim, and your school teacher didn't teach you this, but I'm going to teach you this because this is actually an esoteric secret that's not very well understood, and I think if it's better understood, people will be in general more successful and be able to think differently about certain problems. And perhaps the reason this is kept secret is because our government wants to keep us all slaves. They don't want us to think creatively. They don't want us too much. They don't want the slaves to wake up and discover their power, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to discover your power through sex polarity. All right. So don't take my word for it if you don't believe me. The source I want you to take a look at is the classic source, Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, which was published in 1938. It is the classic book on personal success. I mean, this is the standard by which all personal development books are measured, is Think and Grow Rich, i.e. it starts in your thoughts and then it manifests itself in reality in a certain sequence, in a certain way. He goes into details. However, specifically sex polarity, he has chapter 11 in this book, and you can get this online. You can actually Google the mystery of sex transmutation, and you can find it online for free. Yes, so this is probably his most controversial chapter. And I've actually seen people do reviews of the books and skip this chapter, which to my mind is extremely stupid and ignorant. And they probably didn't get the book if they didn't get this chapter. And you will not understand the book until you instinctively understand this chapter. So don't take my word for it. Go read that chapter. It was written in 1938. Nowadays, we know a little bit more about the chakras and spirituality than they knew back then, but I'm going to walk you through some of this before we get into the deep stuff here. But this is an overview part. So the quick points for sex transmutation. Let me move my head here so you can see the list. Quick and dirty points, all right? And you can get into details in other sources. No pornography. They didn't have that much back in those days as much as we have now. It's a problem now, pornography. Dopamine hit, addictions, no masturbation. Okay, I know 98% of the population does this, but nope, no masturbation's allowed. And no casual sex, all right? Again, probably 90+% of the population participates or has participated in some of these actions. You can't do that during sex transmutation. Now, you can get into details of the why or whatever. We're not going to get into the details of the why of these 3 points, but those are the basic lists. And those of you who know about self-control know that most of the population have no control over these 3 points. And so once you gain control over these 3 points and understand how to transmute the energy within your body into the higher chakras, boom, you become an unstoppable force. And I want you to think about something here. How did the 12 apostles conquer the world in a few decades? How did the Knights Templar conquer the world in a few decades? And how did the Jesuits conquer their world and become the most powerful force in the Catholic Church very quickly? All right, think about it. Think about what those guys did with regard to not having any of this crap going on, right? It makes you extremely powerful if you know how to transmute the energy into the higher chakras. Okay, I'm going to move my head here so we can see. Again, this is a quick overview, you guys. There's plenty of resources out there to dig into details, but I'm going to show you quickly with a quick illustration of how this works practically on the transmutation side, and then we're going to move into the practicals of problem solving later on in this little lecture, but this is introductory. So those of you who are into spirituality, you have to know about the chakras. If you don't know about the chakras, you're not in their spirituality, period. You don't know anything about it unless you know the chakras. So just starting from the bottom chakra, going all the way up. So the root chakra is feet connected to the earth and excretion, which is essentially death of cells. Earth chakra. Then we move up one level to the reproduction chakra, which is our genital organs, which is used in the production of children. Okay. Now, instinctively, we know this is an extremely powerful force. If we don't have control over it, what's going to happen? The instincts are going to take over and consume you with this crap right here. All right. If you do not know how to transmute it, I mean, let's be practical. Why do you have to transmute it? Well, how many kids are you going to have? Maximum 3, 5 max. The previous generation maybe had 10 max. So the power of this force is infinite. So practically, you can only have so many kids, right? And therefore, you got to learn how to control this crap, right? If you don't control it, you're going to go towards this stuff right here. But if you know how to transmute it, like the ancients did, like the 12 apostles, like the Knights Templar, like the early Jesuits, not the present Jesuit degenerates. I'm talking about the St. Ignatius of Loyola Jesuits knew what they were doing. They knew how to transmute this energy to the higher chakras. Okay, so once you clamp down on this stuff right here and learn how to control yourself, after a couple of weeks, couple of months maybe, the energies are going to move up the chakras. If you are a spiritual person and you do spiritual practices, it's going to move up from the reproductive urge of got to do this crap right here, which is embarrassing, shameful, and it causes self-hatred. Anybody who participates in any of this stuff right here, whether consciously or unconsciously, you are a self-hating person and you're full of shame. You are. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, everybody who knows about sex transmutation and participates in it can spot you within a split second if you do any of this stuff right here. It's just, we know it. And once you start practicing sex transmutation, you're going to understand the people who are doing this right here are stuck in shame and self-hatred. It's a fact. So, and we know it because we can see it. It's very obvious once you start doing sex transmutation. So as you move this energy up the chakras, once you get control over it on this level, and the energy moves up the chakras, the third chakra is in your stomach, which is the point of willpower, right? So you're going to get an extremely strong surge of will. And I'm going to say, no, it's not going to double. No, it's not going to triple. It's going to be at least 10 times to 100 times the willpower you had while you were messing around here, right? No joke. I am not joking. And as it goes even higher up the chakras, the fourth chakra is the heart. The emotions, your emotions are going to be just powerful. And you're going to have them under complete control, because once you get this under control, controlling your emotions is easy, right? You're going to have like just the willpower, just will first, and then emotional control, your connections and your ability to read other people and know what they're feeling on an unconscious level exponentiates. Again, I'm not saying a doubling, I'm not saying a tripling, I'm saying 10x, 10 times or 100 times greater power once you learn how to transmute this up the higher chakras. All right. And you start getting into the throat chakra. That's the chakra involved in our expression. You'll be more confident in your expression. You'll be less timid, and you'll be less passive aggressive. Because remember, if you're a passive aggressive person, you're probably doing stuff like this. It's shame and self-hatred. Passive aggressive, right? So as you go up the chakras, you'll be more expressive, more confident, and more correct in your expressions. So you're going to know what's right really quick once you transmute this energy upward. And the most important chakra for most people on a spiritual path is the third eye chakra, which involves intuition and creativity. And those of you who are into spirituality, you can actually perceive stuff in the spirit level, depending on your gifts, your native gifts. Your third eye will just intuition, creativity. You'll know stuff before it happens. You get intuitions about things that's true. You'll be able to read people much better. Because you'll be able to get in touch with the spirit frequencies much easier, and that sixth sense is going to start kicking in. That's the third eye. The sixth sense starts kicking in. More creative, more intuition. Some of you guys who have spiritual powers, you develop some of the more native spiritual powers through your individual levels, and up to the crown chakra, which is the higher level spiritual paths of even higher than the third eye creativity stuff that some guys are into if you meditate for a long time, like a few hours a day, and you're maybe in a monastery or something like that. Or those of you who are gifted with being able to go to the crown chakra. So this is secret knowledge that I think if more people knew about, there'll be less slaves around there, and we have more creativity, more production of the citizenry, instead of addictions, entertainment, which involves this and dopamine hits. So the sugar buzz, overeating, addictions to food, addictions to drugs, addictions to this and that. It's all related to this same process. It's all addictions. It's the lower level chakras being overdriven, and our spiritual heritage is to go up. But our society in advertising and programming is programming us to stay down, because they know if you ascend up this, they can't control you. And if you stay down here, anybody can control you. If you're an addict of anything, pornography, food, whatever, you're easy to control. And you're a scared person, so fear is easy to use. So as you go up these chakras, you have less addictions, less fears. You're purpose driven big time, and like I said, your powers will be multiplied times tens or times 100, and I am not joking. That's very powerful. So as you read this chapter, The Mystery of Sex Transmutation, he's not joking that if you understand how to transmute this energy, you will be elevated to the status of a genius, which means you're going to be a creative person, and you're going to have an impact in your area of business or personal development or whatever your mission is in life. You will have an effect once you master these energies, because energy is energy, right? So in review, after a few weeks of learning how to do this, the energy is going to rise up and surge from your lower chakras up to the higher ones. You have a surge of absolute willpower, surge of understanding in the heart, wake up your power of expression in the throat chakras, creative energies waking up the third eye, and then higher spiritual powers opening up also, if you so want to go there. Some of us, it takes a lot of energy to go to use the seventh chakra sometimes, probably. But if you want to go there, you can go there, because you got so much more energy. You're not dissipating into nothing. This is a dissipation of energy into nothing, right? It doesn't go anywhere. Because remember, if you have sex polarity, then that's where energy is. But this right here is dissipating a single polarity into nothing. And therefore, the energy is lost. It's like setting a can of gasoline on fire. Boom, it goes into nothing. Instead, we want to put this can of gasoline into a car, gas tank, and push the car 20, 40 miles. That's what we're trying to do here, the sex polarity thing. Okay. Continuing on with the new whiteboard, as you'll notice, new markings. All right. So let me preface this. Now we're going to deep dive into some details and examples as we go forth in this lecture, so you can get it intuitively what we're talking about. Sex polarities everywhere. Excuse me. Sex polarities everywhere is the basis of everything. Okay, you'll never be successful until you understand sex polarity, right? Well, success is what? Producing energy to get you from point A to point B, more success. So in order to get you moving, movement requires polarity, sex polarity. Okay. It's fundamentally based on tension. A couple of ideas for you to chew on is if you're into, say, electricity or charge or physics, positive charge, bring it together with a negative charge, you're going to get a flow of energy from the positive charge to the negative charge. Okay? And if you don't have the separation of charges, you don't have any flow of energy whatsoever. Fundamentals of electricity. You must have separation of charges to get energy flow. Otherwise, there's no energy. So it's the fundamentals of everything. Temperature. Okay? Let's say you got a hot object at 100 degrees, cold object at 50 degrees. Well, the heat's going to flow from the hot object to the cold object. Action, flow. All right, temperature flow, heat flow. Pressure, we all have to deal with the weather. We all see wind blowing. How does wind blow? You have a high pressure point out there somewhere. You have a low pressure point out there somewhere, and the wind flows from the high pressure to the low pressure. Anytime anything's moving, anytime wind's blowing, you know there's a high pressure point and a low pressure point. Same thing here. Heat is kind of like a high pressure, cold is kind of like a low pressure. Positive charge, kind of sort of like a high pressure. Negative charge, kind of sort of like a low pressure. Flow. It's wind, it's flow. The entire universe is based on sex polarity. Now you have to get used to saying the word sex. Because if that causes you a problem, you have a problem with tension. You have a psychological issue in your mind if the word sex freaks you out. You got to go work on that. You have a psychological problem if that word shocks you or it triggers you in any way. You have to get over it, or you'll never be successful, because you must be able to walk and surf with tension to be successful and understand the sex polarities involved. Okay, some more analogies here. Actually, not analogies. This is pretty real. Let me make sure I look back so I know what I wrote. Always balanced. Okay, in the universe, the energies must be balanced. You don't have to worry about this because nature will arrange itself for balance. It's a law of the universe, balance. So every circuit, the components within there must be balanced. All forces are balanced. If I push against you with 50 pounds of force, you push back at me with 50 pounds of force right back. It's a law of the universe. You can't get rid of balance. You can't get rid of equilibrium. For every plus, there's a minus. For every minus, there's a plus. Day and night are balanced. Obviously, after the 360 on the year, 365 on the year. Eventually everything's balanced completely, which is another law you need to learn very well, but we're not going to get into the balance law. I'm just pointing it out quickly. So sex polarity is the basis of all action and all life. There is no action and there is no life without sex polarity. Period. It doesn't happen. You must have energy to flow, must have polarity. There must be a pressure difference, a tension, a sex polarity. Period. That's the law of the universe. Some examples in theology and perhaps some other ways of thinking about it that might stimulate your imagination to, hey, I'm seeing this stuff everywhere. Oh, crap. I saw it there again. Okay. You might wonder why Christianity was so big into the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. For those of you who were like, not into theology that much, and like, what's the big deal about that? There's a big freaking deal. There's sex polarity in theology. The Father, in relationship with the Son, produces a polarity between these two, which is the action of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is generally thought of as a wind. Again, wind, high pressure, low pressure, right? There you go. Or you can think of it as spiritual, material, and then the flow from the spiritual to the material is this Holy Ghost thing. Again, I'm not getting into theology. I'm just trying to stimulate your imagination here. It's everywhere. Another way of looking at it is in red, the Father meets the mother, which produces the child, which is action or life. Fundamentals of the human race, fundamentals of everything. So you can't get away from sex polarity. You see it everywhere. It must be everywhere there's life or action. It is a fundamental law of the universe, and you can rearrange this law to your advantage in any case. There's always room in any situation with a sufficiently creative person to arrange the polarities to get the energy flow to get what you want. There's always a way. And this is the fundamentals of problem solving, right? And review, anywhere there's life, there's sex, masculine and feminine. Okay, so masculine and feminine energies, the sex polarities, is always contextual. So whether or not something is masculine or feminine is entirely dependent on the context, all right? For example, a hammer in my hand while I'm hammering a nail is a masculine principle. The nail is the feminine, the receptor of the energy, reception of the force. However, if I'm fixing my hammer and the hammer's laying on the table and I'm fixing it, the hammer's feminine. It's receiving energy from a masculine principle of repair. All right. So let me update the board here, and we're going to jump into this masculine and feminine principle as contextual. And continuing on with a fresh whiteboard with new stuff on there. Sex polarity, masculine and feminine. We've got to talk about these energies and how they balance each other. And some examples so we can fire your imagination so you can learn how to use these two energies. Masculine and feminine is always contextual, and they're always balanced. Law of the universe. In every context, there's a masculine and feminine. In each context, they are perfectly balanced, no matter what, because the universe requires this. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only changed in form is another way of saying it in physics, for those of you guys who are into physics. So let's look at quick examples how entities can be masculine in one context and feminine in another context. All right. So we're going to use air, water, and fire. So air is feminine when it's acting as the atmosphere and the oxygen enabling life. It's the context, the ambience, the atmosphere. Air is a masculine energy when it is the boom, the wind of the storm. It strikes. It's the wind of the storm, the acting force. So air can be masculine or feminine depending on context. Water is feminine when it's used as a dissolving agent, say in a chemical reaction. So when you're making coffee, water is more or less feminine. It's the dissolving agent. But it's masculine when it's used as a washing agent for, say, a dirty container. With a water hose, you're trying to clean something. Well, water is being used as a masculine context when you're cleaning something. Fire, it's feminine when used for cooking and heating because it's atmospheric surrounding. However, it's masculine when used as a weapon of warfare or with an internal combustion engine to fire your gasoline-powered engine for your car. It's masculine fire. Okay? So let's move to the other section of the board here. Let me check my camera, make sure we're pretty. Okay, masculine elements and feminine elements to give you some advice on how to think about this. Again, it's always contextual. Things can be masculine or feminine depending on context, and they are always balanced in every context. Law of the universe. Masculine elements, center of action. The sword. The object. Analysis. Breaking things apart. As opposed to the feminine elements. The atmosphere. The enabling action. The sheath. Holding the sword. The sheath. Light. Light is feminine, it's ambience, it's atmosphere. Shine. Light shines. Beautiful women, they shine. They project an atmosphere. That's feminine power, shine, ambience. See? It's the atmosphere through which the masculine can act. It provides the background and the atmosphere and the nest and the house where the masculine element, which is the center of action, can act. So feminine is that atmospheric. Subject. Feminine is the subject as opposed to the masculine object. You have to have both. You can't have one without the other, right? So you must have masculine and feminine in every freaking context. And then synthesis. Did I write that? Yeah, synthesis as opposed to analysis. So whatever you break apart in the pieces, it's always still the synthesis of a whole. So analysis is masculine, breaking apart in the pieces. Putting things together is synthesis, which is feminine. How can you use this? Quick review here. So in problem solving, you can use these these forces, or rearranging the universe, your universe, to use the masculine and feminine principles for energy transfer, for diet, low energy, problem solving, relationship analysis, how to get you from point A to point B, and so forth and so on. So let's close this out, wipe out the board, and put some more stuff on the board and continue on. All right, some new stuff on the whiteboard. Sex polarity in problem solving. Yes, that's where we really want to get. Personal effectiveness. How do you rearrange the universe, your universe, to produce this energy flow using sex polarity? Let's say you got dietary issues, low energy issues, willpower maybe, relationships, fear. So how do you build up all this energy to make shit happen, right? Well, there's a bunch of techniques you can use. Ultimately, you got to find out what works for you and which polarities suit your nature. But here's some examples that are very powerful, that are tried and tested and true throughout the ages and sometimes the current age. All right, steam and cold water. All right. You want to introduce some tension into your comfort. If you're too comfortable, you got a comfortable job, and there's not enough tension and action going on, you go take a steam bath followed by an ice bath. That'll wake your ass up. Produce a lot of energy. You'll feel very good afterward. So what a lot of people do is you take a hot bath, and then you drain the bath, and then you slowly fill it up with cold water from the tap to start. Oh my God. Yeah. No, it's not going to kill you, because water, if it's 32 degrees or above, it's not going to kill you. If you get shivers for too long, yeah, get out. But until you're shivering, you're good. So fill that thing up and get yourself in cold water in your bathtub. And when you get brave enough, go get some ice. Now, you probably don't want to start out with ice to shock yourself too much if you're not used to this. But anyway, steam followed by cold water and or ice water. Again, I said temperature differentials produce energy. This will shock your system. Boom! Force your body to produce heat to compensate for the cold. And of course, cold to compensate for the steam. And so you get your body energy systems moving again, and shake out some of the jams, keep all the moving parts clean for your body temperature metabolism sort of thing. And that will definitely get some energy flowing there. You'll feel really good after you're steaming and they're cold. Extreme sports, for those of you who your nature is tuned to this sort of thing. Skydiving. Oh my God. What's that polarity? Well, ground level versus extreme heights is a polarity. You drop something from a high height, that's a lot of energy. It could kill you too, right? If you do something wrong, it'll kill you. So extreme energy, extreme dealing with your fear, dealing with your nervous system, the rush you get, you'll be on a high for several weeks or maybe several months after skydiving. Rafting. I've done whitewater rafting. Uh, if you're interested in the categories, category 5, yeah, you can get killed. And yes, it is extreme and it's going to scare the crap out of you. And you're going to be on a buzz of energy for at least 2 months after whitewater rafting. I know that from personal experience. Marathons or extreme runs or extreme bike rides, some sports like that. So if you're training for, say, a marathon, which is 26 miles, where you got to prepare a long time before that. You can't just wake up one morning and go run 26 miles. You have to prepare. So in creating this tension, oh, I got a goal of 26 miles versus where I'm at now, I can only run to my front door. That produces tension and energy as you're building your body up to slam that energy level for the 26 miles. So it'll force you to build polarities within your body of in energy flows, or should I say energy flow capabilities in your body to get to that 26 miles. Fasting, again, this is a polarity of satiation of food. I'm full versus, oh, I'm very, very hungry. Again, the polarity between these two produces energy. So I don't recommend fasting unless you're already a healthy person, because most people do not know how to fast, because we have extremely bad dietary advice in the American style diet. But if you're a healthy person and you slim and trim, fasting is a good thing to create the void. Some people skip breakfast, so you eat dinner and you wake up in the morning and skip breakfast, and it's like a 16-hour fast. Some people do that. So that builds a lot of energy, cleans out your body, gives you that willpower to push through the difficulty. Social tension. So this is on the EQ side of things, the emotional tensions. So hanging out with people who are significantly richer than you produce a social tension. It's like oh my God, I gotta like live up to these people's expectations, and it's going to force you to do some polarity changes, flow of energy, where you'll be more successful as you hang out with more rich people. Or if you want to develop charity in your heart, the social tension, you can flip that upside down to go on and counseling the homeless at a homeless shelter. If you're already a successful person, giving back, that's a polarity, an energy flow of charity, developing your heart muscles, your emotional heart muscles. Talking to people significantly more beautiful than you are, or better looking, that produces a tension. Talking to these people, learning how to interact with them. Perhaps if you're not good looking or sufficiently not good looking, there's something going on with your pride and your upkeep, that just hanging out with beautiful people, that tension is going to subconsciously force you to update your personal styles and personal stuff almost automatically. Sometimes you have to do it consciously to increase this energy to get you in a better place of polarity, so you'll be a better looking person or a better presentable person. I can't read this backwards. Conversations with strangers. To develop your heart, your EQ, develop that energy flow of charisma, putting yourself out there and making other people affected by your actions, or trying to be more persuasive. Talk to strangers all the time. Every time you see a stranger, you say hi and try to strike up a conversation. And as you do this, that tension initially is like going to force you to it'll tune you up really good into how to approach strangers. And after about 10 or 20 or 100 approaches to complete strangers, you're going to be very much at ease. And then whenever you do presentations, or for example, for business, you'll be ready to go out the box. Boom. Because you have this baseline of talking to strangers, which is extremely difficult. It's a big polarity shift. Versus giving a business presentation to people you already know is much easier. So you'd be more effective. Boom. All that energy you can just put forth as charisma. So that's ways you can use this polarity to build tension, to create energy, to change your world. To change your world. Change your life. It's the most important law of the universe. It's the fundamentals of action. Instinctively, we kind of sort of know about this, but like I said, let's make some commentary on the current societal and cultural expectations versus the truth of this that's not widely known. So why weren't you taught this in school? Why weren't you taught this by your religious institutions? Why? The reason is they want you to be a slave. The corporations want you to go to work for them, be an obedient slave with just enough energy to accomplish administrative tasks or manufacturing tasks in the factory, but not healthy enough to thrive and move on. I want to kind of sort of keep you in the same spot. And then the medical field, what do they want? They want you just healthy enough where you're not dead, but just sick enough to where you constantly input into the medical system, insurance, payments, all this nonsense, all this wickedness, right? They're not out to solve problems, they're out to maintain status quo. They're not out to make you succeed. They're out to maintain their cash flow. The factories, the offices, the admins, and people who punch clocks, right? So they want you a slave. All right? A slave does not take advantage of sex polarity and tension to get a surge of energy to change his life, to make big moves, big business, big money, big whatever the hell you want, artwork if you want, big music. These corporations, the governments, want you a little sheep, a little slave, not too healthy, not too sick. They want you a robot. And they'll replace you with a robot if they could, is the point. So why be a slave? Well, they don't want you to know this because it gives you power. Once you discover sex polarity and tension, you can change the universe. Your universe can change just by rearranging things. How does a circuit work on a computer? How does a light circuit work? It's tension of voltage, right? But how does it work? It's just rearranging materials. Rearrange the copper, rearrange the materials of the light bulb, rearrange the materials of the generator. Boom, you got a circuit, you got light bulb. It's just a circuit. It's rearrangement of materials. So all you got to do is rearrange the materials that are already in your life to increase this energy, produce the sex polarity, produce the energy flow. Boom, change your life. It's really that simple. You go over the stuff I just taught you here and rearrange the polarities of your life. That's already there. This stuff is already there. You just got to rearrange it. Sometimes you got to separate the charges to create the flow. If you're an unattractive person, that means these masculine and feminine energies are too much inside of you and are not separated enough to produce flow. So you got to polarize yourself, become either extremely masculine or extremely feminine to create that attractiveness if you're not an attractive person. And there's many tools to do it. It's not just physical. There's many ways to create this polarity. And once you rearrange what you already have, the energy will freaking flow. And that's what they don't want you to know. Because energy flow is power. Energy flow is power. If everybody discovers that it's so simple to rearrange your life to produce this energy flow, you're going to become an uncontrollable employee because you'll have tons of power to create tons of money or whatever the hell you want. The medical system won't have you as an unhealthy guy consuming fucking drugs all the time and pushing thousands and thousands of dollars a month to the drug companies that are, wants to keep you sick enough to where you're just not dead. Sorry, guys. I don't want you just sick enough to where you're just barely dead.
I want you out there kicking ass. That's what I want. Sex polarity is the primary law of the universe to accomplish this. So take this, choose one action today, right now, write it down, one action of what I taught you today that you're going to start doing today or tomorrow to increase your polarity, to get some more action in your life. How are you going to increase polarity somewhere in your life based on some of this stuff? Rewind the videos, figure it out. Today and tomorrow, figure out what you're going to do to increase the polarity, to increase that energy flow. Boom! Flow of energy. Get it flowing. Create the polarity. Go out there and kick some ass. Appreciate you guys watching this. This has been probably one of my funnest videos in a while. I think a lot of people can use this. Very useful. It's very simple. Anybody can do it. It's just you got to have the secret knowledge that's just been hidden from you. And here it is. Go out there and kick some ass. Appreciate you. Be safe. Take care.